the science.
Suffice it that the blood of 1,000 men and women was spilled within these walls. Limbs twisted and broken, eyes gouged from bloody sockets, flesh burned black.
Please. You're away from dead. In death, there are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, and no schemes. What you have to realize is that we're all just a mouse that a cat has on their tail.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-public number.
Warning, the following show contains conservative posturing, radical Christian ideas, and may offend pagans, Wiccans, Islamic fundamentalists, and other unenlightened individuals. Callers and guests may be subjected to brash and offensive comments by the hosts and any other type of bullying tactics available. But that's okay. We know why you're here.
This concludes this test of the emergency broadcast system.
Tonight is Monday, September 17th, 2007.
Welcome, world. It's World of the Unexplained.
Monday. Live at the tractor pull.
Monster truck racing.
World of the Unexplained. Meet the Grave Digger alongside the Wotu Crusher.
Bigfoot. You know, there's a lot of paranormal stuff in monster truck racing. I never thought about that.
There is.
Grave Digger, Bigfoot.
Yeah, well,
I'm sure there's one about UFOs in there somewhere, I'm sure. You know? We ought to, like, talk to those guys.
But you remember last year when my band shot the video over at the
Spooky Woods
of Terror. We actually, what?
Yeah, never mind. Go ahead.
We actually, is it Woods of Terror or Spooky Woods?
I don't know. I think it's
Woods of Terror.
Yeah, I just like to say Spooky Woods.
Well, that's their competitor. Anyway, so we shot a video there, and they had it was Gravedigger or one of those trucks like that there outside, man. They were like cranking it up, man.
Really?
Yeah. Seriously, it was pretty bad. Yeah.
They should have that robot dinosaur that breathes fire. That would be pretty cool.
T-Rex or something?
I think it's a T-Rex.
Is tonight the Republican...
Monster Big Rex.
No, not the Republican Monster Big Rex. Although if John McCain were a monster truck, what would he be? Bigfoot, because he's old.
That's
Hold
rough,
on, I don't
man.
understand.
Yeah, he might draft me. I got to stop.
I gotta say that was pretty quick though, man. Did you prepare that?
I did not prepare that. That was off the top of my head.
I don't know, Old Glory, but that's not even a real monster truck. But somehow I feel like there should be a monster truck named
Old Glory.
Old Glory, you know.
Is the Republican debates tonight for the...
I don't know. I'll have to check that out, man. Maybe I'll
think
check it out here.
it may
in a
be another
second.
internet thing. I don't know.
Oh shoot! You know what? I mentioned I forgot to tell you that this last week, but we were cruising around on Google Earth, and I can't remember exactly which program it is to get this particular map up, but it's a map that will give you altitude and topographical along with vegetation.
Yeah.
Areas, and I tried to pull it up the other day with you, Scott, and I don't really know which upload or whatever download thing it is, but it's really interesting. One of those Google programs, basically, if you click on a certain area, Greenland, actually, if you click on Greenland and just kind of zoom in, there's this unusual, anomalous blob that's brown in the middle of the ice cap, and basically you look at the altitude and you drag it. It's well, you would think that, except that the blob is like a straight line. It's almost like
something that's built there.
It's almost like a geometric shape, except that the geometric shape is like some 60 miles across. I don't know if that's some kind of...
It's hard, man.
I don't know if it's some
Part
kind of
two.
I don't know if it's some kind of a fluke in the program or whatever, but what's really interesting is like below that, a couple of miles below that, a little further south on the same landmass of Greenland, there's a blob, just a nice little small rectangular blob, much smaller. It's blacked out. And we've been on that program a couple of times, and that blob is still blacked out, and that other larger mass is still there. It's really unusual. It's a completely straight line along the northern face of it, and the rest of it sort of looks like the ice is sort of surrounding it. And then you look at the altitudes or whatever, and if you go over on the ice cap, the white part, it'll be a certain altitude, and then you go over the brown part like I'm talking about, and the altitude descends dramatically. And honestly, if anybody knows what I'm talking about,
call us.
Call us or email us about it. I'm kind of curious about the whole thing. I mean, maybe it's just a program. Maybe it's just a program fluke, and honestly, if you didn't know any better, it looks like some kind of anomalous craft of some kind. The color is brown like stone. I would almost say it almost looks like the ruins of some city, but it's also
ancient
huge.
world
It's
unearthed by global warming.
60 miles across in the center of the continent.
What?
I think the Predator was in that one.
The Predator, yes.
Oh, I thought that was Antarctica.
Well, anyway, I've got.
Anyway,
we've got a surprise
I just
guest
forgot to talk
tonight.
about that.
We've got two guests tonight. Our first guest is from the band Gene Loves Jezebel. His name is Jay Aston. He is the singer for the band. He's going to be coming up with us a little later. Our second guest is Pamela Kinney, author of Haunted Richmond. So we'll be talking about that. One bone of contention that I do have this week, that I was driving around in my car, listening to the radio, and I heard this story come on, and I was so incensed that I have to bring it up to all of you wonderful, devoted listeners out there. In Sampson County, North Carolina, our own home state here, where Wotu is homegrown and brewed.
That's down east, actually.
Yeah, but it's still our
south
state.
Yeah, south. Well, I was just kind of giving people a geographic reference.
How far is that from us?
It's a couple of hours. I think it's south of Raleigh and a little bit east of Raleigh. It's kind of in what we call the the Tidewater region.
Okay, well, here's what these nutball liberals have been doing in Sampson County. On September the 11th, there were many school children that wanted to show their patriotism by wearing T-shirts displaying the American flag. They were not allowed to do that in Sampson County because they were afraid that they might offend other children by not allowing them to wear the flags of their home countries or flags of other nations on the shirt.
Mainly Latin American countries.
No, you think?
Yeah, no.
Well, think of what else you might be opening it up to, too. The stars and bars.
Stars and bars?
Yeah. I don't know. Can you wear that in the public schools?
What is stars and bars? I'm sorry. I'm uneducated. Educate me.
The Confederate flag.
I don't think you can. I don't know.
Why not?
We did that in our high school, didn't we? No, not we personally.
That
but
was a long time ago.
No, I mean, but, back in the 90s, I mean, I remember kids wearing that kind of stuff or having a flag draped over the...
Yeah.
Their vehicle.
Yeah.
What does it matter?
Their vehicle, yeah. With the gun rack in the back. This is before all those laws went into effect, too. But, yeah, okay, It's been a while. Gosh, time flies. Yeah.
So I'm just saying that may have been sort of the rationale behind it, trying to...
Yeah, but the American flag, what kind of... Yeah, it probably was the ACLU.
Well, they were trying to probably cover,
Yeah, I understand that. But, yeah, I just can't believe it. I can't believe that North Carolina, the Bible Belt of the South, has allowed something like this to go on. 877-722-7382, toll free in the United States and Canada, or 336-996-1596. Your calls are welcome. In just a few moments, we're going to have on Mr. Jay Aston. He's going to be with us from Gene Loves Jezebel. You guys remember those guys? They're kicking off a new tour that's going to be starting really soon in the California area. You know how that goes. All the California people, man.
Cali knows how to party.
Going back to Cali. Y'all remember that song?
Speaking of which, man, isn't it funny how all this 80s stuff is becoming, popular again? About 25 years.
Even some of the
later?
clothes are coming back, from what I understand.
Yeah,
it's very strange, man.
Like,
I hope those
for example,
little mini skirts, the little black ones. I hope they come back.
With the tight leotards, is that what you're talking about?
Of course.
Yeah,
those are great.
How about the hair? That new wave stuff, man.
Poofy.
Yeah, I could do without that.
But the fishnets.
I could do without that. Yeah. But I mean, it's that's just that. Well, I'm going to go ahead and bring our next guest, or our first guest, on for tonight, Mr. Jay Aston. Jay, how you doing?
Very well, thank you, Chase. How are you?
We're doing great. Thank you so much for coming on World of the Unexplained tonight. We appreciate it. This is our rock talk area of the show tonight, and like I said, once again, we appreciate you coming on. Tell everybody what's going on with this new tour you've got coming out.
Yeah, we haven't toured for a heck of a long time, years actually. So we thought we'd put some dates together and start playing in the US again. I mean, my brother's got another version of Gene Loves Jezebel, much to our chagrin, and he's been touring for many years, round and round and round. So we thought we'd better redress the balance a little and bring the people or the fans. We get so much feedback from fans asking us to come out, so we thought, yeah, let's come and do some gigs, and we do them in little installments, as it were.
Now, I noticed that you've got a MySpace set up. Can I give this out?
Sure.
It's myspace.com/JP Aston, and you've also got a website that you've been promoting. I believe it's jayaston.com.
That's jayaston.com, and there's the MySpace, the real GLJ as well.
Okay. Well, tell what happened with your brother going out there? Is he singing these songs?
No. Well, back in the day, we used to sing a couple of verses in some songs, but Desire, Suspicion, Jealous, Motion, etc. He's not on, and Kiss of Life is just not on the songs, you know.
Yeah.
There basically wasn't any room for him in the band anymore, to be honest with you. It sort of got down to him, he was just miming to my vocals, and it was a bit silly. So he left, which was fair enough, and he got a big record deal, and then they dumped him, and then I guess he got greedy, wanted to come back in the band, but that just didn't work. We tried it, experimented, and it just was all pretty awful, we thought. So, you know, he took it very badly and suddenly started touring the US with Gene Loves Jezebel, which he's been around dozens and dozens of times. Whereas we're the band, you know, James Stevenson, Pete Rizzo, Chris Bell and I, you know, we're the guys that did Gorgeous, House of Dolls, Discover, Immigrant, all those albums. So, you know, we're regarded as the real GLJ. That's what the fans call us. They've got the site up for us on MySpace. So
I guess they're happy to see that you're going to be coming out. You know,
very excited,
getting back in the saddle, huh?
Yeah, I'm doing a little. I'm talking to you, and I'm doing a little cable TV thing tomorrow. And they've had so much huge response for it from the fans. So I got millions of questions to me. I haven't been on TV or radio for years. I'm quite reclusive.
Well, hey, that's awesome.
Yeah,
we're glad we can get you then.
No, I'm glad you got us. It's great. You know, it's a pleasure.
Well, so tell me, when does this new tour kick off, and where does it start, and how far are you going?
One will be in 17th of November, and that's going to be in Phoenix. I know you've got stations in Scottsdale there, etc.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's real close. I mean, they can pick it up from Phoenix. Actually, they're hearing it right now in Phoenix. 877.
17th of November.
I'm sorry?
17th of November, Club Red.
Okay, Club Red. Yeah. And how far are you going around the Phoenix area? Just that one night, or is there going to be two shows?
I mean, we're just basically doing a handful, doing L.A. the night after, Safari Sounds, and then we go up to Reno.
Okay.
On the 23rd, and then we'll be doing San Francisco, the Devil Lounge, on the 24th, and San Juan Capistrano, the Coach House. So.
Wow.
So we're doing quite a few. I mean, and there could be more added, but we do have litigation problems with my brother who tries to cause us problems. Not in just this country, but every country we've tried. He's actually called up consulates to try and stop us doing gigs, which is quite bizarre, not being able to play your own music and sing your own songs.
Wonderful world of intellectual property law.
It's like trying to marginalise us. It's not. It's the fact you feel sorriest for, you know, because we can live. We go on and we live our lives, but you know, they turn up to a gig and the promoter's playing Desire or Jealous over the radio with our pictures, and they turn up and, you know, you've got who knows on stage.
Well, you know, that's bad for you in a lot of ways, though, because a lot of people may see, you know, you guys coming out and thinking it's your brothers.
Well, we're advertising as Jay Aston's Gene Loves Jezebel, even though it's the real band. It's a shame we have to do that for me, because I'm very proud to be in a band with these guys. They're brilliant. When I walk on stage with those guys, you just feel an immense sense of confidence, because they're just brilliant. And you know, it's our music. When James Stevenson plays that guitar, you know, it's Gene Loves Jezebel. You know, when I sing, hopefully people feel the same way too. And Peter and Chris, phenomenal rhythm section. And yeah, we're not going to make any money on this tour. We're literally doing it politically. We can't just jump on a bus and head off to Reno. We're all based in London. We have to get visas, flights, hotels, tour buses. It's amazingly expensive for us. My brother just jumps in a van and heads off
Oh man. Well, you know, I tell you, I've always loved the song "Desire." I always thought it was a great song, and it, you know, all of your music really reminded me of a lot of the stuff that I used to listen to a lot of, with the NXS, you know, flavor and the YouTube feel. I tend to categorize your music in that respect. I hope that's not a cut down.
No, sure. That's an era I'm very proud to be a part of. You know, I think we've got an individual voice that deserves to be heard, and you know, we're still alive and kicking, is to use one of those 80 band song titles. And you know, we like playing live. We love playing music. We tour, you know, not as often as we used to, but we like to make these things a real event when we do come. So hopefully the fans will come out of the woodwork and hear the real thing, as they say, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I hear you're working on a project with Ethan Dettenmeyer, a new movie called Brigade.
Right, yeah. It's, just quite chuffed about that. Ethan tracked me down, because I'm quite reclusive, as I said earlier, but quite hard to track down. But, you know, he's a fan of the music and my songwriting, and sent me a couple of scripts. I really liked them, and I said, sure, let's just do it. And he thought just doing some soundtrack music. I said, no, I'll write some songs, you know, and we work it that way around. Gives you good impetus to actually start writing, you know. It's great to write outside the box, as it were. All my songs are about my own experience, you know, stuff that happens to me. But when you write for a film, it's just incredibly, you know, a great sense of release you get, because you've got no hang-ups about writing whatever comes into your head. You can just become these characters, so I enjoy writing like that.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a neat piece of the equation. Are you going to be releasing any videos with any of the new stuff that you're writing?
Well, we see, you know, MTV and those people don't play videos anymore, do they?
Yeah, no joke.
You know, these days, technology where it is, it's pretty easy to make videos. I mean, I put a couple of my own homemade ones on MySpace. I write songs these days. My solo stuff, I just put them up on the web for people to download, etc. Because you know, just to keep it all fresh, to let them know I'm still writing songs.
You know, music.
Curiously enough, for one of the songs is up for a thing called a Pearl Award. Have you ever heard of that?
A what?
A Pearl Award. I've never heard of it before. But it's like a Christian music award, which is quite ironic, because the guy who tried to play keyboards on it, I won't mention his name, he's a lovely guy, but I don't embarrass him. He couldn't play. He's a devout Christian, and he just couldn't play, and he thought it was the devil's music.
Really? Wow, okay.
Now it's up for an award by the Christians.
Wow.
So that's what kind of made me laugh, you know.
So what's up with your TV interview tomorrow? Is this tomorrow?
I'm not really sure. It's a cable thing. It's Denise Ames. She's got a popular show on cable out here in LA. It probably goes beyond LA, but as far as I know, it's very much based in LA as far as whoever comes into town. She's a fan, you know. She's actually been on stage with us once, actually. She actually came up and sang Desire on Encore.
Oh, wow.
Many people that just jumped up on stage about 10 years ago, something like that. So, yeah, we haven't toured for that long. So, it'll be fun. You know, she's got loads of questions sent by fans, and I have no idea what their questions are. It'll be like, what colour's your hair? What shoes you got? Is that your own hair?
Well, you know, we're the same age, you and I, and, you know, it is tough, you know, looking at, you know, back when we started, or, you know, when I started playing music back in the 90s, I guess you started probably around the same time, maybe a little earlier, I guess.
Yeah, earlier than that, yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, I bloomed a lot later, I guess, but, you know, you remember the old days when you go in, you record a record on ADAT and stuff like that, and ADAT was new and cool, and,
yeah.
You know, and then you get into all these Pro Tools now, and it's just revolutionized the way that we record, the way that we mix. Everything's just changed so much.
Well, you know, I think that's all very exciting. All you need is a MacBook and you're out the door these days. But on the other side of it, I think there's nothing like my favorite kind of music is just recorded bands. I still love that kind of honest, just recorded sound of a guitar and drums and bass. Even though I own them up with my own stuff using Logic and all those kind of things, I still enjoy nothing more than just the pure voice and the guitar. You know, I just think it's magical.
What would you say your influences were that made you start out, and have they changed any over time?
I was thinking about that recently. Actually, I mean, I've been always worked so hard about being myself. I guess as being a twin, you just you fight for your identity so much. But it was the same with singing. I'd loved so many singers, but I always tried not to sound like any of them. So hopefully, I came up with something that sounds like me. But there's loads of people I like. A friend of mine was playing with Peter Gabriel the other night. I didn't realize how much I liked Peter Gabriel. I just hadn't listened to it for a long time, you know. But there's tons of great singers. I like lots of jazz singers, blues, you know, lots of rock and roll stuff, Zeppelins, The Who's. How can you knock that stuff, you know?
Oh, definitely. Classic stuff. Classic stuff.
I actually went to see Van Halen the other night, weirdly enough.
Really? Who was it? Was it Sammy Hagar that's with those guys, or David Lee? That's right, it's David Lee Roth now.
With him. But I was quite blown away. I see my guitar player is friendly with someone in the Van Halen camp there, and we got invited. There was about 60 of us or something watching it.
Oh, wow.
But they're absolutely amazing. What a guitar player. And his son is excellent. So I never saw the original, so I can't really comment what a Van Halen fan would say, but for there.
I've never seen the original either. I remember I was playing a show in Atlanta. I guess this has been a year or two ago, and it was a Cabo Wabo thing we were doing, and I remember seeing some of the guys from Skid Row there that I hadn't seen in a couple years, and they were just there out in the audience, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we live in Atlanta now," and I'm like, "Really? Wow." It's just the people you run into, I guess. You know, when you do it for a while, it's like, you know, everybody's kind of on a different, you know, on their own vibe, and you meet back up with them a few years later, and you're learning all kinds of things about them.
Yeah, definitely.
So, how long have you been back in the U.S.?
I'm just visiting. I'm just here for. I've been here exactly 1 week, and I leave next Sunday.
Wow.
Just tying up some. I mean, I've had stuff in storage for 10 years. So I just want to empty it. That's what I'm going to be doing in an hour or so. So. No, you know, I visit once or twice a year. I mean, back and forth to the States if I can. It all depends. But I've been in London for a long time now.
That's great. Well, we appreciate you coming on the show, and we wish you the best of luck. We'll check in with you later and see how things went. How's that sound?
That sounds brilliant, Jay. Thanks so much, man.
Oh, thank you so much, Jay. We appreciate you being on.
Okay, thank you. I'll speak to you next time, yeah?
All right, take care.
Good. Bye.
Bye-bye. And that was Jay P. Aston, the man from Gene Loves Jezebel. See, isn't this cool? I can just pull the guest. Okay, Ethan pulls the guest and he throws them my way as a little, like, you know, crumb that I can have. But it's really cool, you know, to be able to meet all these people that we grew up listening to. That's just good stuff. That, you know, I mean, that's an awesome thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But no, really, it is. It's an awesome thing to be able to meet so many people. And I know it's usually a different kind of show that we have on there, but I thought it would be kind of a neat little spice to add the rock talk thing to it, because then that just makes us like doubly cool, you know, right? Because at first we were like singly cool, and now we're even more cool. We're more cooler, man. Yeah,
it's like wearing double pants.
That's right, or Velcro shoes.
Yes. Explain this double pants concept to me.
I don't know. It's pants, and then you wear a second set of pants.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like reversible pants.
No, they're double pants. You just wear one.
I remember those
type of
reversible jackets.
Usually wear the first pair of pants longer than the second pair, so you can see that you're wearing two pairs of pants.
I think that may be called putting your underwear on over your pants, man.
He's done that before, I think.
Really?
Yeah, Trent has.
Yeah.
For Halloween?
No,
it was just one day.
One day I decided to do that. I'm weird like that. But I guess I'm double cool now because...
You're double cool now. That's right.
I don't know where I got the double pants thing from, but it just sounded like something stupid that I just wanted to blurt out.
Well, we're gonna take our first...
And it was.
We're going to take our first break for the night, and... Good gosh. We're going to take our first break for tonight, and we'll be back with Pamela Kinney from the book Haunted Richmond. So you guys can call us up and speak with her. Y'all know the numbers, 877-722-7382, toll free in the United States and Canada, or 336-996-1596. You're listening to World of the Unexplained, and we'll be back right after this. And we're back on World of the Unexplained. Tonight, we have our guest, Pamela Kinney, the author of the book Haunted Richmond. And if you like ghost stories and you're in the area, like we are, well, I guess we're in the area. We're a couple hours away from Richmond, I think, home of the Philip Morris cigarette company, which I indulge in myself. But tonight we have Pamela Kinney. Pamela, how are you?
I'm fine.
Are you a native Virginian?
Not really. I was born in Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska, and raised there for a little bit, and then my family moved to California, so I've been living in both first Northern and then Southern California when I moved out here in 85.
Okay, wow. Well, we've got a station that carries us in Omaha, actually. We'll give them a shout-out here. Robin Valley, listen to us out there. I think it's 1610, 1620? I don't remember. Anyway, sorry, Scott.
I can't remember. I'm bad with numbers. So.
Yeah. But, well, that's what brought you to write this book, Haunted Richmond?
Well, I write fiction, horror, science fiction, fantasy, and under a different pen name I write, believe it or not, paranormal, science fiction, fantasy, romance. They do make money. Oh. And my editor went and got a job at Schiffer Books, and she was part of the Mid-Atlantic Horror Professionals, and she told them that she was going to propose on a forum there, asking any of the horror authors they like to write nonfiction books on, real ghost stories, not, made up. And I went ahead and thought about it, and the only thing that scared me was the nonfiction part. I mean, I grew up reading these books, by Hans Holzer and all that stuff, so that was always intriguing. And growing up in a family, believe me, I've had experiences. I believe in the stuff, so. And I was trying to think real hard about the nonfiction part. That was the scary part. But, I went ahead and did a proposal, and they accepted, and I wrote it, and here I am. Okay. It was actually a lot of fun.
Well, what's the best place for people to get your book at?
Best place to find my book?
Uh-huh.
Well, lots of places in there.
No, I mean the best place for them to buy your book if they want to
buy my book. You can anywhere. Walmart. I found it at Walmart.com. Found Amazon.com. You can go to Borders, Books A Million.
Everywhere.
It's in there. If they don't have it in the store, they can order it. So and even your local small, whatever your bookstore, they go through a distributor, they should be able to get it.
Now your website here is http://fantasticdreams.50megs.com.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so you started writing this book. Sorry, I'm trying to plug everything here at once. You started writing this book, living in Virginia. How much did you travel around? I see that you're actually in Chesterfield. I'm trying to remember how.
It's in the same area. I mean, that's part of Richmond. It's Richmond and surrounding counties. Some of them I found online or in books, and then the ones I can get a hold of the people that lived in these places. One of them actually lives up the street from me, the famous Wrexham Hall, the Lady in Red. Uh-huh. I mean, I walked to that interview. That was so simple. But, I call them, make appointments, and then go to these people and talk to whoever, stuff like that, and try to update some of them, because I know originally some of them I found, like L.B. Taylor had wrote one, Ghost of Richmond, and kind of updated a lot of that stuff. So, like that, like Wrexham Hall, because somebody else lives in there since the last thing he wrote in on that one was when the Gates still lived there in about the 80s. And now, since then, there's been a couple of people that owned it, actually both of them using it for wedding and receptions.
Oh, creepy.
The ghost actually showed up at somebody's wedding. It was about when I first interviewed her last year. She said a few months before, I guess, it was a judge and a nurse at work. I guess she pretty well thought they worked both for Chesterfield County. And the brother of his took the picture. They called her later and said the ghost showed up in it. There was a red dress with the ball where they had a ball of light where the head was. So.
Oh, wow.
That's one for the photo albums, for sure.
Obviously, she was at the wedding. They didn't expect her to show up in their pictures, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of cool, though.
We had something similar to that happen when I was at my buddy Gus's wedding in Pennsylvania. We had got this thing on tape. Eric did the videography for the wedding, and there was like this demonic-sounding voice of one of the clips of the reception, and we kept stopping it and playing it and stopping it and playing it, trying to figure out exactly what it was. It was some creepy stuff, though, and we kept trying to figure out, what's it saying? It's like,
Scott, are you sure that wasn't you when you were wearing that construction
No, it was
hat?
not me, and no, I not drink that much.
You were wearing a construction worker's hat.
It was YMCA, man. Come on.
True, though.
Give a guy a break.
That's great. That's part of my hat party idea, but I can't talk
so
about
did
that
you
right
visit all of these places that are listed in your book, or just select locations?
Yeah, to take pictures and stuff like that, and interviews. Some of these are historical places. I like the history part too. Go see things, and I knew some of them from doing it before. And then I wanted to, of course, find out where they were at and stuff, like, especially with the picture taking. Some, I had to kind of go online, look for addresses, because they're not in, like any of the other books and stuff. And One of them is now empty. That the farthest I got was the 80s, and there was nothing I could find except for something that was online from a real estate agent, I guess, before. But and I got that picture and found that place. It completely had been changed because they had put a new road in.
Uh-huh.
And when I was looking for it, and I had my husband help me, I said, well, where would this be? It sounds like it's on this road. But then he figured it out, and he said because things had been changed around. They had rebuilt so much in Midlothian that we found it was in this one little section now by itself, and it's across from a little shopping center, and it's deserted.
Huh.
And another one has been owned by other people, quite a few since L.B. Taylor wrote in the book. And the lady that owned it originally in his book, she now works for the Historical Society out here. And she actually sent me an email about a shopping center that's across from a mall over here that actually used to be a graveyard and had experiences after they put bodies away and built a shopping center over it, including a Barnes & Noble that I'll be doing a signing in October that had stuff when it first, had opened up all the stores until it disappeared. But she said, yeah, she says it used to be a graveyard there. Of course, she would know. They do all this stuff. They're cemetery people and check to see where the bodies and things and like historically are. So.
Well, what was the creepiest place that you went to out of all these?
Trying to really say, Wrexham Hall. I've actually had experience with the ghost a year before I even thought of writing this book, anyway. And that was something else I was there for, and actually had the door shut on me. I won't go into the story about that. It's in here. I really don't say that anything creepier than anything could have happened to me per se. I mean, nothing bad about any of this stuff. The two things that happened that was interesting, and one is in my book, the picture. The first one was Center Hill. I did take a picture, and when somebody mentioned, because she had given me a lot of the articles from the paper, it's in Petersburg, Progress Index they have out in that area, and a woman had mentioned about a woman's figure in the mirror, so I thought, wait a minute, and I propped in my thing where I had this full of pictures, and I saw something dimly in my picture in the mirror there I took that there is something like a woman's figure. You could see it. But that wasn't the creepy thing. What the creepy thing was the form. It's a warehouse again, but it was a warehouse before it became a Civil War prison for both first the South and then the North. It's called Castle Thunder. And it has a history because I found it online. Because people had mentioned about brutality guards and stuff, and I did find somebody has a whole complete history of that place. What went on there from, when it first became a prison to the end when the war ended.
Well, for our listeners,
brutality of guards. But anyway, I was taking the picture, and it was cloudy, afternoon, so there's no sun. It was before we were going to go and talk. I was going to take the Haunted Richmond tour because they're in the first chapter, and my husband's with me, and my camera, something starts moving in the camera like a flash of light. I'm going, oh my gosh! And I'm looking at the building, and nothing's happening, and there's nobody in there. Okay, it's empty. You can tell it's empty. So I told my husband, and I looked again, it's happening. So I told him to come over there. I said, what do you see at the building? He says, I see nothing. It's nothing moving. I said, well, look in my camera viewfinder and tell me what you see. And he says, there's flashing in there. So I snapped a couple of pictures with the digital camera, and when you bring it up, you can see it. There's two lit windows. And they weren't lit.
That's creepy.
So I had no explanation. I asked later the lady from Haunted Richmond because she hears a lot of that from people telling her stories because she does the ghost tour and everything else. She hears they talk to her. I mean, she's been doing this for a couple of years down there. And she said that all she heard was secondhand about people complaining about footsteps in there and voices maybe and all that stuff like that. And later on, the group that's in charge of the Center for Paranormal Research Investigations, they were at something for Halloween.
Yeah, this Q94.
At the historical center. I asked them about that, and I told them, and they said they had hearing from people that own the warehouses down in Shackle Bottom about complaints about a lot of paranormal activity. So.
Now, I also see here that another local radio station, 103.7, spent Halloween there.
Yeah.
And that they couldn't get a signal to broadcast.
That was Wrexham Hall. They did I know that a couple of them did Wrexham Hall, and they also did, of course, Haunted Richmond too. And they've done it. I mean, some of these radio stations do. I know that Q94 gets a psychic, and I've heard them on TV, on the radio before. It's been a while since I listened, because only time I listen is when I'm driving in my car somewhere. That's my big thing with music, is during that time. But I know that they're in here, and that they both have done, both Wrexham Hall for stuff like that, and for Haunted Richmond. In fact, that was how Haunted Richmond found out that their ghost was real. They had an actor, and they thought he was just making it up.
Uh-huh.
And, because even though, they do a ghost tour and they do, believe in some of the stuff, they just thought that their building didn't have it. And it was in the haunted house. Before they started the ghost tour, they had what they call a haunted house thing. If you ever been like Halloween time, the little haunted house stuff.
Uh-huh. Yeah, oh yeah.
Like that, but on a better scale, like they do in London and stuff. That's how they got the idea. And one of the actors saying there was somebody factor, and it wasn't one of them. And they said, no, not. Well, Q94 brought this psychic in, and he told them the name of the woman and everything else, and she was haunting back there. And that's when all the other actors finally came forward and admitted that, yeah, they've been having strange stuff going on there. And I even heard from customers, started telling them, well, we know your actors are not allowed to touch us, but somebody's back there either touching us or playing with our hair or something like that. And so, yeah, it would be like one actor, for example, thought he was talking to her husband, who owns it too, because he acts back there. And then he suddenly stopped, and there was her husband right in front of him, and he had not been the one. And he looked behind, there would be nobody back there. And sometimes they have a door back there that the actors could sneak in, and it would open up for no reason.
Huh.
And there'd be nobody back there. So, yeah, she's haunting back with a perfect place, right?
Mm-hmm. What was the most fun of all these that you wrote about? Not maybe necessarily the most scary or terrifying, but the most fun.
Well, they were all fun. I mean, Haunted Richmond, I got to take the tour, too, but I mean, that's the fun part. But Center Hill was very nice, because it took actually an hour and a half, because she was very, very helpful in a lot of stuff. And then they let me do a tour, which normally cost, for free, so I got to take pictures. Usually they don't let people do that and that. And that was kind of fun. And, just going through Hollywood Cemetery and taking tours of it, and so I take pictures. And actually, the whole thing was fun. I mean, the people, when they were interviewed, were very helpful, and they were willing to talk about the stuff. And
did you find that any of the people you talked to, did you feel that any of them were fabricating anything?
Okay, I couldn't hear that.
I'm sorry. I said, did you find that any of the people you talked to, did you feel that any of them were fabricating any of it? Did you have to kind of weed through the...
So. These people were really, really honest. They're normal business people, most of them are. I mean, the Center Hill Mansion, it's, they showed pictures, which wasn't, I mean, there's some stuff they showed. And the lady, the docent, said she never had an experience. So she said, I'm very, very respectful. I always say, good morning. Figure it was somebody's house at one point, like she says, and if it's, the ghost, whoever, they know that the main ghost is a lady ghost. That's all they know. They don't know who her name is or anything. I just say, good morning, and then I say, but no, none of them. I think we're pretty well just telling what happens.
Did you find...
And it's the same stories like Wrexham Hall that she tells hasn't been untold differently from others written down in the past from the other people, so...
Did you find anyone that you talked to were, I don't know, a little nervous about coming forward with some of their stories?
Not really, no.
Oh, wow.
Surprisingly, no.
You just got a good crowd.
Yeah, it seems like it.
I did. I actually didn't have anybody even bad normally. The only bad person was actually somebody who found I was writing the book and thought that, well, I don't believe in ghosts. I said, well, and then she said about going to her church. I'm Catholic to begin with. She was Methodist, I guess, and I'm going, well, I'm Catholic. I don't need to go to any other church. And then she goes on about... That's
right. Y'all have the only church according to the Pope, right?
She was telling me, she was going, then she goes, well, I don't believe in spirits. But I said, but if you go to church, do you believe in the devil and God and angels and devils, right? And she goes, well, yeah, but that's... I said, well, aren't those kind of considered spirits? I said, I'm just writing this book. And she goes, I'm going like, but that was the only bad experience. Nobody else it's been really pretty pleasant about it. So
well, let me ask you, as a Catholic, how do you equate this? Do you see that these are human spirits? Do you believe that they're maybe in limbo, or do you think they're demonic forces at work?
I grew up, no. I think anybody's bad or good, and I think if you're going to die and go to hell, that's because you were not a very nice person to begin with in life. I grew up, because I do believe in angels, I believe in devils, I believe that if you're going to be put somewhere and all that stuff like that. I kind of have a theory. I'm not an expert, okay? I don't think anybody really is an expert. I mean, we don't know. This is all so hard to, how can you pintail anything about it? My theory is it's probably dimensional, because I remember a long, long time ago when I was a kid, you believed, heaven's up in the sky and hell's down under the earth, and of course, that can't be really logically true, and then someone wrote that really heaven and hell is dimensional, and it's with us in the same time as Earth is. It's just in another, dimension.
Another realm.
And you think logically, because I read science fiction, okay, we're third dimension, we're solid, spirits are in I don't know if that's second or maybe the fourth, whatever the difference.
Uh-huh.
And that's probably dimensional doors, and that's what, in my opinion, I think anybody can see a ghost. I mean, you just probably have to hit at the right time. I mean, there might be some that have more abilities to see more, but I think anybody can. It just has to hit them at the right time, because there was a lady in the Center Hill mansion, when I was talking to the docent, she told me a few days before I came, one of their workers who never saw ghosts all her life, who actually made fun of all the people that would sign up. They have in January, it's called Ghost Watch. It's for the Civil War soldiers. People here, it started with the turn of the last century. People, when the new owners took over and the family sold it out, and they would hear at a certain time in January these footsteps for about, for 20 minutes going up and 20 minutes coming down, all that stuff. And so they would have this ghost watch. Well, they had to sign up people, because after the first year they didn't think about it, and of course they got 700 people, so it would always have people to sign up for ahead of time, reserve. And she would make fun of all these people. And of course, they said you shouldn't do that and all that, but she said, they're believing ghosts. How can they believe in ghosts? There ain't no such thing. I never saw a ghost. Well, a few days before I came, she went upstairs to take somebody on a tour of the place normally.
And she saw a ghost.
Turned around and saw a skirt scurrying away.
Oh, wow.
Just like
and
that.
She said they said she came down white as a ghost herself, and said, I saw the ghost and I'll never make fun of anybody again.
Wow.
Like I said, I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's probably dimensional, because I read that years ago, that heaven and hell is not really like, everybody thinks, or big quotes. It's dimensional. So it's probably true. I mean,
it's a reasonable theory. I mean, as reasonable as many other things. But I think it's time for us to take our hard break. Isn't that right, Scott?
That's right. We're going to be back. Hang with us, Pamela, and we're going to be back for you guys listening out there on World of the Unexplained here in just a little bit. You can phone in at 877-722-7382. That's toll free in the United States and Canada, or locally 336-996-1596. And we'll be right back in just a little bit with Pamela Kinney, author of Haunted Richmond.
We are World of the Unexplained. We have Pamela Kinney on tonight, author of Haunted Richmond. Guys, give us a call. 1-877-722-7382, or locally 336-996-1596. Pamela, you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Just for the benefit of the people who maybe don't know the lore or whatever, and also just to talk about the book, maybe you'd like to elaborate on a few of the stories. For example,
tell us a ghost story.
Tell us a ghost story. One that interested me was the train under the hill. Let's start with that.
There's a train, years before, in the turn of the century before that, the 20s, they did try to dig under there, and then they didn't finish digging under it. Well, I guess at one point, the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad, they wanted to build a tunnel through Richmond and not around it. So they decided to take that same place, that same hill, and dig a tunnel through it. And they started doing all that stuff, and they hired, workers, a lot of actually, they figured workers that were hired just right on the job. And around, unfortunately, that was not too smart. It had a cave-in. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, were caved under and all that, including the train. And they did get some people out, and one guy that they got out did later on die in the hospital and all that stuff like that. But they probably estimate there's probably still bodies under there.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, and there is hauntings with it, because I know that the Haunted Richmond lady found out there's, on top of the hill, there's supposed to be some hauntings with the park above it. People have heard voices screaming for help. Mm. A man that used to take a tour with her one time told her he worked at the refrigeration place. There's a big white building next to the hill down there. If you go down the street, there's a McDonald's on the corner. You go up to it and you see a white building. And he said he used to work there at night. the graveyard shift, and at night when in the back he could hear pickaxes coming from the hill, like somebody's pickaxing at it.
Oh, that's creepy.
And then some kids from VCU said that one time they heard a train sound, like a brake, and of course they thought it made it sound like my husband said probably what they probably heard if it was a train, because they looked back because there's train things nearby, right? And they didn't see any trains that weren't any at all. Is they probably heard like an old, because it's an old-fashioned train, not the modern one that there's a difference in sound. But that's the ghost stories around it. There is also a vampire story with it.
Yes, that's one of the things that I was interested in.
I have no idea why the guy was picked on. For my opinion, this is a legend, I mean, there really was a guy, but, he wasn't a vampire. You haven't heard any stories after all this that he went around, people dying out of lack of blood in the middle of the night. But supposedly some guy was pulled out, and they found this other figure bent over him. And when they looked, he turned up and he had jagged, so they chased him all the way back to Hollywood Cemetery to this tomb. Well, for years it would try to, people would try to break in and stake him. And all that stuff. So eventually, I know at least on the tour I was on one time, this was before the book, they said that they actually took the bodies of him and his wife out and buried them in an undisclosed location to stop the staking.
Oh, man.
Breaking into the tomb,
I wanted us to take a trip to Richmond this week.
Or maybe it's really a vampire and he just moved himself. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so he probably died from something. It's in the story and under Hollywood Cemetery. You'll see that he had probably a physical problem, all that. But I'm assuming probably somebody hated his guts. I mean, if you think about it, that'd probably be a good way to get, I hated that guy. He's a vampire,
Yeah. And what year was that with the vampire? What year was that story circulated?
It was in the 20s, so 1920s.
I mean, you still hear you still hear a lot of that stuff going on in the early 1900s, even in the New England area, about people thinking vampires are among us, and it's interesting though to see the psychological.
That's his tomb on the front cover too. Except
is it?
They embellished a little bit different. I mean, the trees, and it's not purple. If you see my color picture, it's not that. But that's his tomb. So.
Well, that looks like maybe a tomb a vampire might hang out in, possibly. They like the nice architecture. But
it looks like eyes glowing eyes. Is that the book's across from me? Is that what it is?
That wasn't in my picture either.
Okay.
You're right. There is glowing eyes coming out of
it. You might want to look at that picture again.
Is that a gaslight?
Look at that book front cover.
I think it's probably called Photoshop. Is that Photoshop?
So that part is, believe me, but that is basically his tomb, and it was a nice day and all that. But yeah, he has the Hollywood Cemetery as his tomb. There's also a big giant pyramid with the Civil War soldiers, which is supposed to hear sounds from that too. And then of course there's a metal dog that was taken from, they say from a shop on one of the street, I think Broad Street or somewhere, and buried near a little girl that had supposedly liked it or something like that. Plus people claim that Ellen Glasgow was the biggest famous author. She has two ghost stories, one to do with her house in Shackle Bottom, the other one to do with the cemetery with her dogs. So that's in there too.
Oh, sure. Well, let's go into that then, if you want.
Which one? The Hollywood Cemetery?
The Shackle Bottom, you were saying?
Shackle Bottom? Oh, yeah. In my opinion, if any place is really, really haunted, it would be Shackle Bottom. Number one, that's an old place.
How old are we talking about here?
Let's see. Go to find a spot right there. My page numbers. But it's really old. I mean, there's a lot of old buildings, a lot of old warehouses down there. That's where, in fact, Castle Thunder is. That's where Haunted Richmond has their thing going on down there. And that's, like I said, there's a lot of things. I mean, there's mostly bars down there now, restaurants.
Right.
Big Daddy's is one of them. One of the bars that's haunted. And I think in the beginning that was a furniture store, and I think that the ghost lady is the one that's haunting either the wife or the daughter of the person, the original owner of the house there. There's another couple of bars, pub. There's a pub, McCormick's, which is across from Haunted Richmond. It's haunted. They have noises. There's Rosie McConnelly's Irish Pub and Restaurant, which has really good food. The guy's really, really nice. And the haunting is in their where they cook their food. And the reason he thinks it might be the waitresses saw the ghost is it used to be a YMCA that was torn down.
Right.
And he is wearing coveralls or something, so he could have been a worker at that point, is what they think. There's Laser Quest. It's haunted because it used to be a Civil War hospital, and they see Civil War soldiers, and they're upstairs. And there's a blood spot in the room. If you walk to your right when you come in, or usually have parties, and they showed it to me, and it's still there. They said they can't get it off.
Oh, that's just a...
And that's interesting. And then there's, like, downstairs, there's a place where they keep all the stuff for Laser Quest. It'll open up mysteriously and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Main Street Station that's been reopened up as a train station. It has problems with one of its bathrooms, for example. The woman's bathroom. You hear people flushing in there, and there's nobody there.
It's a bad place to meet a ghost, I would think.
I mean, you know, the West Main Street, which is where Ellen Glasgow lived. I mean, all the stuff, people have heard stuff from there, women crying and stuff. There's Juliet's new Southern Cuisine restaurant, which is really nice. I do acting. I've done it, haven't done it for 2 years.
Yeah.
I was in the movie Hearts in Atlantis. That's where they had actually had for us actors come get food and that. There's a...
you were in that film?
Yeah, I was in that film. I was one of the 2 barmaids.
Really?
Yeah, no, really.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, that actually was close to the book, too. Usually sometimes they're not, but that was.
Huh. That's very interesting. I'm going to have to watch that movie and watch for you now.
I've been told, in the mirrors in the bar. And so someone said they saw me. At least I showed up in the film. You know, I was one of the principal 2 barmaids. I had really blonde hair. I had to dye it blonde because you couldn't have regular dark and light blonde hair. You had to have. It was the 60s, and they all had supposedly pale white blonde. Yeah, right. But that's what they wanted, so I did that.
Did you get to meet Anthony Hopkins?
Yeah, he was a real quiet gentleman.
Really?
Quiet, yeah.
That was such a...
him as Hannibal Lecter, believe me, he's really probably acting.
That was such a great movie. I don't know, for those of you that hadn't seen that film, you should definitely check it out, because I remember watching that on HBO, I don't know, a couple years ago, because I'd never seen it, and the storyline's just so... It's just really good. It's one of those...
They actually did pretty good for the first story in Stephen King's book. I went out and rented it, checked it out at the library to read it before we did the film. I was in it. And I have to admit, the only thing they may have done was it was aliens. It was not aliens in the movie as it was in the book, but
like in the movie,
there's some differences. I mean,
it's like in the movie, it's like the Men in Black coming after. I'm sorry.
They did it really pretty close to the story. I was surprised. Sometimes they change things around.
Yeah, it was like they had the little, for those of you that aren't familiar with the film, he basically had a little kid that he was like talking to and kind of making friends with, and he would watch the boy, Anthony Hopkins would, and he was like, if you see these signs up, people looking for their dog, it's actually these men that have come to find me, and you got to let me know. I mean, these guys running around this old car, this kind of like the Men in Black mentality. Pretty good film though. Yeah, it's Stephen King, obviously a great writer. I think William Goldman did the screenplay on that. It was just a really, really good film. Fantastic film. I didn't know we had a movie star on our hands too. Why didn't
I was
going
to lead into the acting thing.
Oh, well, yeah. Why didn't you bring that up?
Well, I was talking about the book first.
Okay.
I was following a plan, man. I got my little sheet of what I want to do, and you got your little sheet over there, and we need to compare notes sometime.
Exactly.
Anyway, I'm just making that up. We don't really have sheets like that, but Well, what about Edgar Allan Poe? I mean, he was such a prominent...
The Stone House, number one, it's the oldest stone building in Richmond still standing, and it houses the Edgar Allan Poe Museum. And whether Poe visited or not there, it probably could have. I mean, it was people living in there at the time he was there. I mean, But what haunts the place is these former children of the original family of the home, which was from the 1730s. Mm-hmm. Actually, I went there a couple of weeks ago for something called Unhappy Hour, I guess in terms of Poe. That's what they called it. Anyway, they told me that they had a psychic come by and name one of the kids. I think they said Jonathan for one of the kids. They said for the boy. But anyway, people would find, little boy sitting there, one of the workers. And sometimes when people came, there were video cameras because there's a garden in the back, they would sweep the house. And when they hit the house would not show up, and then come back. The video would come back on again, and things like that. Or they find kids would be in the videos or in the camera pictures, and they say, "Well, who's these children out here? We don't have any kids out there right now." And it would be right there in the the thing. So things like that. But they did tell me a couple weeks ago we went. My husband and I went there for what they call the unhappy hour, and I went to just to do it at Ground Pole. And they said that they had a psychic actually came by and told them one of the children was named Jonathan. So, at least, this is way back after I wrote the book. Too late now.
Right.
But so I do know that they said it was named. One of them was named Jonathan.
So there's two other instances about Edgar Allan Poe. First of all, are there any sightings of that guy? I mean, he had such a miserable life, it seemed, in Richmond.
Not that I can find here in Richmond.
Okay.
I know I hear enough about what someplace in New York I read a long time ago, and I think Baltimore, but nothing in Richmond. Surprisingly, he was adopted by a family here. His mother died here. She was an actress. He was adopted and raised by somebody here, mostly in England when they went there for a while there.
Right.
Then they came back, and I know he went to college in Charlottesville. But no, surprisingly not.
Yeah, it seems kind of sad. Our preeminent horror writer of the 19th century is not.
But he has wrote here. I think I found somewhere online he wrote something for a magazine here and stuff like that. So he's literally probably, if anybody close enough to being a native son, it would be probably Richmond.
Right. And I guess the other question is, because I'm a big Poe fan, but the other question is, what do you think really he died of? There's so many different theories of his death. I mean, what do you think about it?
I went back to college a few years ago for fun, just to major in theater this time. Instead I majored when I did years ago. And my English class, we got to pick an author to do a paper on, so I did it on Edgar Allan Poe. And I went and looked up information on him and all that stuff, and I finally found out through all the books that one of the things they theorized that he might have had was rabies. And it probably is very logical. That probably is why he was drinking a lot and stuff like that, nor the pain, because back then they didn't have shots for rabies, and what it does is not very nice as it is. So, and probably between all that stuff and everything he kept doing to probably maybe alleviate pain and everything else it did to him, and making him just not really with it. I bet that's probably what probably killed him.
Yeah, I guess so. I've heard any number of theories about it, but the laudanum, I think that's what they call it, the liquid opium that he took. Anyway, just kind of going off track. You have something, Scott?
Oh no, I was just going to say I was going to make a statement about rabies, and I think it messes up your brain and makes you all crazy.
Okay. Yeah.
That was all I had. Sorry. Okay. I was just talking about the rabies here. I'm perusing her website right now. That's what I'm doing. So I'm sorry.
That's
www.fantasticdreams.50megs.com.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, we just kind of took different parts of that website instead. Let's see. Going back to the book, and there's another one in here. I forget what it's called. Yeah. Just it seems like. No ghost story compilation of antebellum South could do without a plantation story. And what about the Berkeley plantation?
Okay, well that's one of them. Actually, believe it or not, there's one that's a restaurant now that was a plantation too in Chesterfield. It's haunted. But we'll go through the Berkeley one first. Let me find it. And what it is, it's famous. Well, it's got a lot of presidents that were born there. I mean, how can we not say that? And it's probably
George Washington slept there. Sorry.
And a lot of it's actually one of the the first plantations or places that were brought out here when they first settled the New World and all that stuff. Because you heard of the Berkeley 100 and all that stuff like that. And it's like the birthplace of William Henry Harrison and all that, who was ninth president.
Oh yeah.
Benjamin Harrison V, I'm sorry. My brain's not going, set in my mouth. He's a signer of the Declaration of Independence and all that stuff. And one of the ghosts that, or probably maybe the main ghost that they think it might be haunting it, is Benjamin Harrison IV, because supposedly he was gone for one night, closing windows. They had a thunderstorm, and he was calling for help, and two of his daughters, one of them carrying his infant son, came up to help him when lightning struck him and killed all but the baby.
Wow.
So they think that, a lot of times when they say things happening and stuff like it might be Benjamin Harrison IV himself doing a lot of this stuff. At least that's what they, estimate. But the stuff going on like that. And some, like in the book, I got it from, the tour guide will tell you, it has in there what things happen to them and stuff like that. But that's definitely what they think has to do with him. That's just an estimation, whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people probably lived in that house. They do have a legend there, which I'm planning someday to write the legends and myths of Virginia. And I've been going through this book, and I realized there's a lot of little legends in here and myths. There was one that was put in that is definitely a myth. It was to do with there's a little dip in the road there, and they would suppose they heard voice sounds and stuff going on there, and they found out later on, as they would say, that wasn't real, because they think probably the plantation owners used that to keep the slaves in their places at night.
Oh, wow.
They wouldn't realize, because the slaves would say, we heard monsters, so because they believed in all that stuff. So that's almost like another legend right there, a myth someone started. Another plantation within Chesterfield is Belgrave, or Ruth Chris Steakhouse is in it now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Chris Steakhouse. I've never been there.
I wanted a certificate, $100 certificate one time, and it literally took $100 to eat there.
Really?
Well, I've heard it's like one of the best. It's a really
good food.
Really good place to eat, but very expensive.
But it's haunted. It used to be a plantation, and in Chesterfield, and they still got the stuff in one of the front rooms. Some of the stuff that's showed that they got from it. The ghosts had been seen was usually sometimes in the backyard or things like in the back place part of it. Okay, there was a bachelor named Rabu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. He's French. And he ended up meeting this 14-year-old daughter of this attorney that lived out near there. And, of course, back then they did marry him younger. He married her.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, a few weeks after they're married, he comes back home and finds her with her previous boyfriend, who's about more her age, 19 years old, and he throws her out, and he's, of course, demanding a divorce, which the father didn't quite like it, so he convinced her former boyfriend, to help him retaliate. So they wait for him to return home one night, and, of course, the father shoots him.
Wow.
And both of them end up getting arrested, and they're taken to Chesterfield Courthouse for jail. Okay. The boyfriend was released because they said, of course, he was duped by the older man, and he didn't pull the trigger, of course. And eventually, the other guy was tried for murder, but the father, he had a lot of friends in the judicial system, so he got out, and then he got a mistrial, and then they tried him again. And that time he was found guilty, and they sentenced him to hang.
Yeah. And
they did hang people back then. Now, was a few weeks after he had got executed, his daughter, the widow, she fell down some front steps of the plantation and died. And there was supposed to be two accounts of how she died. One was that she fell on a sewing basket, and a pair of scissors punctured her heart. Yeah. Well, the other story claims she broke her heart. Broke her neck, I'm sorry. And then whatever it is, it's after that both her and her husband are the ones that are roaming the Boxwood Gardens.
Oh, I see.
And there's also be a little story here. I don't know if that's a legend or a myth to this day, but there's supposedly during the Civil War, it was used by General A.P. Hill as his headquarters when he was in a campaign against Richmond and Petersburg, and a hospital for Southern soldiers. And during this campaign, Hill died, so they tried to take his body to Hollywood Cemetery. And there's a thing out here, they say when you're going to Hollywood, that means you're going to die. That's a term out here. I found that out. And anyway, they couldn't get across the James River at that time because there was damage to the bridge and Union troops. So they took him back to Belgrave, and they buried him in there. What they called the owner at the time, the Friends, who owned it at the time, at that point, family cemetery. And he asked in his last will and testament to be buried up, standing up. I have no idea why, but he has to be buried standing up. And
well, I guess you're still 6 feet under, right?
Yeah.
Well, when the war ended, they moved into Hollywood Cemetery again, and once again he was buried standing up there too.
Oh, weird.
I always thought that was pretty strange, and I don't know why he wanted to be buried standing up, but.
Nah, I'm not really sure how they do that. I know sometimes in Europe they do that, but that's more practical reasons for space. You know,
maybe he thought he was not going to be really dead, and I don't know.
He wanted to be able to walk out.
Maybe he's a vampire. I'm sorry.
He's a vampire, right? Not full, but that's one of the interesting things that he was asked to be buried standing up, and they did it at Belgrade. And when the war ended, they took him out and buried him like in a Hollywood cemetery too.
Strange.
So
kind of weird.
Well, Pamela, we're going to have to take our last break of the night. Hang with us, and we're going to be back here in a little bit. For those of you just tuning in, we're with Pamela Kinney, author of the book Haunted Richmond, a nonfiction account of some of the ghostly delights in Richmond, Virginia. We'll be right back on World of the Unexplained right after this. And we're back, World of the Unexplained. Tonight our guest is Pamela Kinney, author of the book Haunted Richmond, and her website, Mr. Lackey, you probably got it pulled up. Wait a minute, I've got it pulled up, don't I?
I'm sorry, I was looking at the chat room.
Website.
It's www.fantasticdreams.
no, there's no W.
There's no www.
So HTTP.
Yeah, you just type in fantasticdreams.50megs.com, and the 50, you won't want to spell it out. You just want 50.
The number.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I was looking at the chat room.
I was looking at some of your roles and some of the television and film and things that you've done here. Lassie, okay, that surprises me a little bit. Lassie, it's like a happy kids movie, and we're talking about ghosts and stuff. But
No. My son, when he was in high school, wanted to do that, and we decided to go ahead. And my husband ended up in it too, which he said he can't act, and he was right, he can't act, but that's okay. He doesn't want to.
So what role did you play in this?
My son was in it, and he featured prominently in the fair scene where he's with one of the cows, and when they're walking by the kids with the cows.
Okay.
And all that stuff like that. So yeah, that's how I started it, and I kept doing extra work after that, and ended up quitting. Well, number one, I quit my job. My husband let me do that, so I could pursue not only acting but writing too. Because number one, I couldn't write for 7 years working at my job. I loved my job. I had nice people working with me. That wasn't the problem. But I don't know. Sometimes they talk about a writer having where they can't write all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Well, I had a writer's block because of that job. As soon as I quit that job, it's like the floodgates open. I could start writing again.
Huh.
And I did acting. It was easier to do acting too, because otherwise you had to ask for time off, and I had a guilt complex because I grew up in a family. You don't, unless you're absolutely dying,
Yeah.
can't go to work. So it was a lot easier to do things like that.
I noticed you were also in The Jackal. Is this the same Jackal film with Bruce Willis?
Yeah.
Wow. Did you get to meet Bruce?
No.
Okay. They kept him under wraps.
Where were you in The Jackal?
Yeah.
Just one of the crowd scene right there at the end, where they're showing.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And I also see one. I'm just selecting different things. There's so much stuff that you've got up here, but I also see Mickey. Is that the one with Hugh Grant?
That's a baseball team. Little league. They asked some of us. My agent asked a bunch of people and they fed us and gave us goodies and stuff. It wasn't like we get paid for that. And they did a scene where they're doing the little league between the two little league teams.
Uh-huh.
A thing at the end. It was filmed in Colonial Heights.
Okay.
So at a little baseball park there that normal little leagues I can't think use.
What about Revelations? Is this the TV miniseries they came out with a few years ago?
No. Oh gosh.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Getting brain dead trying to remember my old the things. But no, it was just a different thing. I did a little filming thing in and stuff like that. But no, it's not the TV series.
Okay, I saw it and I was like, oh man, was that TV? Because I don't know. I guess that came out a couple years ago. You guys remember what I'm talking about?
I remember that. Yeah, that was a good show.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty good. But yeah, I mean, it's just your website's really awesome. You got a plethora of stuff here, and I see you've also done some work on the stage as well with a lot of community theater stuff.
Right, especially Chesterfield Children's Theater. They're a good group. They try to help young kids. They don't turn anybody away. They tell them that the kids that audition, they'll take them on. You may have to take a lower part, but they will never turn somebody down to help them learn how to become, so they can teach them as they're learning.
Oh, that's cool.
And so they're very there's twin girls that own it, and that's really nice that they're doing something like that for kids to go to and stuff like that.
So what book are you working on right now?
Well, right now I'm writing, believe it or not, an urban fantasy because I have a chance to pitch to an agent in the next week at a writers' conference. So I'm trying to write it as much as I can out, finish it, and then I'm going to go back over and the first few chapters because I know once if I pass the agent's pitch, which is like they call it like being in an elevator and you pitch something for 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
So, if she says, she will accept it, then I'll probably be sending her at least probably the first 3 chapters. But I want to get it finished, so I'm working on this urban fantasy like crazy. It's called How the Vortex Changed My Life. It's hell's taken over Richmond, and it's out to take over the world. And this woman's got involved in it, and there's the guy that she meets who's actually a werewolf, and an eye demon named Larry, and yes, he's a floating eyeball.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Floating eyeball.
Popular from my writers group. Everybody likes Larry. So
Larry, the floating eyeball.
He sounds like a sweetheart.
I see you've got one story for free here, it looks like on your site, this Werewolf for Hire.
Yeah, you can go. No, it's not on my site. You can go to the place where they actually paid me for it, and it's actually won Predator and Editors this January voted, and it was number 10 of the top 10 short stories for horror.
Oh, wow.
And it's Werewolf for Hire, and it's you can read it for free at the place that, they paid me for it and contract and all that. So
awesome. So this is, that's sciencefictionfantasyhorror.com. I can give all the rest of this, but it's /article. That's too much to read. Go to sciencefictionfantasyhorror.com and then look for Werewolf for Hire by Pamela Kinney, and you can actually get that there. Well, so you've got a bunch of new things in the works. Then, are you writing any plays?
The what?
Are you writing any plays?
No. Someday I'd like to write a movie because actually that was my first major TV movie film production. I actually can do behind the camera.
Oh, okay.
I've done radio. Believe it or not, I've done my friend wrote a Star Wars audio drama.
Oh, wow.
She's married to a mystery author, and that's her big thing, her Star Wars science fiction. But she wrote a very, very well-written audio drama, and I told her it had to be, she asked me to direct it. She had a role for me, and I did the voice, and it's not my voice. You couldn't tell it 100%. It's not even me, but yeah. I directed it, and I told her I was going to do it because I went to college for this, and I wasn't going to be embarrassed and do fanboy stuff that I've seen that were really terrible, shouldn't be shown except for themselves. And we did it. We actually got a lot of good reviews and stuff like that, and so
So you were
radio.
You were at Dragon Con not too long ago. We had talked about that actually earlier via email. Were you doing stuff in relation to your book and acting and stuff?
Schiffer Publishing had a table there in the dealer's room.
Oh, okay.
And I did do signings. I had people come looking for me, fans of my fiction, and somebody from Richmond that found out my MySpace, which proves MySpace does work.
I guess so.
Proves MySpace works.
Right there a lot, and they do. I get answers. And then I also do things for fun. I wasn't allowed to be a guest, so I said, heck with it. I went and had fun when I wasn't doing my book.
Right.
And I wore costumes and stuff like that. But I've done that before at conventions. So.
Oh, Teresa Baines was
there.
I make costumes and wear them. My husband dresses too. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
That's he dresses. Cool. If you ever seen those stormtroopers?
Yeah.
He has one of those armor.
No joke.
That's cool.
Wow.
I want one of the Imperial Guard armors. The red ones with the big tall hats.
He has that helmet. We have never made the rest of it.
Yeah, I want the whole thing.
I had the Tusken, so.
Maybe one day I'll be that for Halloween. That or a Dalek. I'm not really sure. Dalek's going to be hard.
They had a Dalek there. The people that do what they call robot, they are like R2-D2 type robot builders. They build the remote control. You have R2-D2 and all the Star Wars ones. There's a Dalek there.
That's great. I really should have gone and seen that.
I think you should go as K9.
I should go as K9. I don't think that's possible. I'm probably more likely a Cyberman. At least that fit in the outfit. But so you plan on doing anything like that in the near future?
Well, there's conventions coming up. I'm hoping, well, there's one in a couple of weeks called Fantasy here in Hampton, Virginia. They're going to have the Hampton Convention Center, and I'm doing a Promoting Your Book panel on Sunday. I won't be able to go both days because I got that James River Writers Conference, which is important because I got that agent pitch, so that was very more important. But they got me on Sunday doing the Promoting Your Book, plus I'm going to help with electronic publishing. There's supposed to be a panel with that. One of my friends is doing, so I'll be doing that because I got some e-books and stuff. And then in 2 weeks after that, besides the regular signings, in 2 weeks after that, there's something called Monster Fest at the Chesapeake Central Library in Chesapeake, Virginia. It's kind of like a mini convention. It's free with horror and stuff, and I'll have a table there, and I'll be signing, besides my horror anthologies and stuff like that I have with me, or I have be bringing copies of Haunted Richmond and stuff like that. And then, of course, I have a lot of signings in bookstores in the area, literally, and the Chesapeake Historical Society and the Tredegar Iron Works Civil War Museum, all that month in October. And then again in January, there's a convention called MarsCon. I was guest last year for horror. Hoping this year, I haven't heard a word to be again. And then it's February, ShibaCon in Roanoke, California.
Wow.
It's a convention. I'm a guest, and he's taken a couple of my suggestions. First, the paranormal romance angle, some authors there, and he's also been inviting some of the paranormal ones. There's the local person for that area that does the Center for Paranormal Research and Investigation. He's got him as a guest too.
Wow, so. You've got a lot going on for you here in the next couple of in the near future, that's for sure. We're gonna have to let you go though, but before we do, we want to give you the last word and give your website again for the listeners out there.
Okay.
What do you want to talk about? I mean,
anybody, please do contact me. You can check me. You can contact me through my website, but my website is http, now say / Fantastic Dreams at 50 megs. That's 50.com. Or if you want to, check me out through my MySpace. If you have a MySpace and want to join, it's www.myspace.com/Pamela K. Kinney.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Pamela.
It's been a pleasure, Pamela. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Not a problem.
Bye.
All right, that was Pamela Kinney, author of Haunted Richmond.
That's true. A lot of good stuff in this book.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of fun.
A lot of good ghost stories.
Yeah,
they're fun.
Yeah, it reminds me of the old tradition of Josh Harden.
Basket weaving. Oh, no.
Josh Harden. Was that the name of the Tar Heel Ghost? The guy that was at his house at Twin Lakes.
I think it was John Harding.
John Harding, yeah, and Fred T. Morgan. Those are some local Carolina authors that did some really good stuff. But they didn't have pictures. They were just telling ghost stories. They weren't trying to go out and investigate the places, I think. They were just telling the stories. Yeah. That's a different style of writing. This is more, here are the places, here's how you can get to them, and this is what happened there. So it's more visitor, tourist friendly and whatnot. We got another guy next week who's going to be doing that. He's going to talk about the Limp Mansion. Jason Offit was talking about it. It's in his book, Haunted Missouri. And the Limp Mansion apparently, well, we'll talk about it next week, but it's Brian Alaspa.
Okay, yeah, I remember you mentioning that.
He's also with Schiffer. But,
is that the Ghost Hunters book that I've got?
No.
Who's that?
John Kachuba.
Is he scheduled yet?
No, I want to try to get him on there because he's apparently a writer and like a real live ghost hunter. Apparently, I've been reading some of his book too. So, lots of things, lots of writers, investigators talking about the old times.
The old times.
The old times.
Yeah. Wow. That's something.
What the heck was that?
That was the haunted. What was that beep?
I know.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
It's still going on. It's something in the studio.
Is something in here?
Yeah, it's something in the studio.
We brought the ghost with us.
Dun dun dun. Dun.
But that's kind of crazy. Yeah. She's an actress in that.
Is there anybody in the chat room? Because I'm not in it.
Oh.
You're not in it either.
I'm there somewhere.
Are they saying anything? They're probably talking about everything but what we're talking about.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not too many. Some people have
left the building.
Have left because we're almost out of time, really.
Yeah.
Just a couple left in there.
But the hopefully the rock and roll interviews will continue to come.
Yeah,
We're looking for another one next week. I don't know who it'll be yet.
Cool. I'd be surprised. It'd just be whoever. Be all crazy.
Exactly.
Who's it going to be? I don't know.
I'd like William Idol.
William Idol.
Billy Idol.
That would be great.
White wedding.
I don't know. It's like the
What's up, y'all?
worst.
We'll stay with the British thing.
It's like the worst
British
accent ever. Just that's it.
We're just going to interview British rock stars from now on. That's it. No Americans. We don't care. I don't care if Steve Tyler from Aerosmith calls up. We're not taking him.
Yeah,
no,
but we're gonna,
only British.
Only British.
We're like, sorry, man. We can't do that. Only British rockers. That's all.
Yeah, there's a lot of famous ones.
Oh, we got a phone call. Let's see who it is.
It's a phone call.
No, just answer it and let us know who it is.
Yeah.
We don't want to do any actual work. Yeah, exactly. That'd be our like, okay, how you doing there, buddy?
Nebuchadnezzar. What's going on?
It's Ron.
Oh.
Okay. Well, go ahead. Hey, Ron, what's up, buddy?
Ron, what's happening, man?
Hey, not much. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Enjoying this nice Carolina weather.
Listening to the show? Yeah, I know. Hasn't it been splendid today?
That is awesome.
Yeah, it has been. Now, you're in Raleigh, right?
Right. I'm up in Raleigh, in North Carolina, the capital.
Yeah, I was just in Raleigh Thursday and Friday, and I was so busy that I didn't even think I should have called you.
You should have, man. You should have swung by where I work and picked up some grub.
Yeah, definitely, man. I did a continuing legal education. I got my requirements for the year there at the North Carolina Trial Lawyer thing, Academy of Trial Lawyers. So yeah, they're located in Raleigh. And man alive, I tell you what, Raleigh's changed a lot since I've been up there last. It is just so busy.
No doubt, but I mean, it's still a state capital. It's got tons of stuff to do. It's got like a lot of parks. There's a lot of museums. There's a museum of natural history. They always have some amazing exhibits. There's like an art museum and stuff like that.
And you got the Cheesecake Factory.
I always enjoyed those museums.
I visited the Cheesecake Factory. It's good.
So you can go harvest muscadine grapes off of one of the exits, about 3 exits north of Raleigh, I think.
Oh, wow.
There's like a bunch of different weird stuff to do. The farmers markets are awesome. I mean, it's got a lot of advantages, and it's kind of quiet.
Yeah, that's true. So what's on your mind, Ron?
I was just calling in to say, hey, with you guys, I was in the chat room, and since I was the only guy in the chat room, and you guys were talking about the chat room, I figured, gee, why shouldn't I just call in and say hello?
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like it's fluctuated, or what we had. I don't know what's going on. I think people taking the night off. We hadn't had any callers or anything.
There was a guy in there earlier, John from Chicago. He said he was having a terrible day. So.
Oh, really?
For John, I hope he has a better day tomorrow.
I hope he does too.
Yeah, I'd see him again.
Yeah, the only thing I didn't get to ask Pamela Kinney about was how she felt about the new pope. I was going to ask her about that.
Oh yeah,
I kind of hinted on it, but I didn't. I don't.
I saw that and I forgot about it basically.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Ron.
No, well, it's no big deal, man.
Yeah.
I was just kind of curious because, you don't hear too much about what he's doing over here in America. There's so much other news and stuff. But.
We all know Ratzinger is a vampire.
Yeah, well, there you go.
He kind of looks like one, too.
He does.
He has very vampiric.
Pretty undead.
Kind of.
He doesn't like that. He's like he's been a priest all his life. He has nothing to do with vampires.
I don't know.
Well, the best vampires are the ones who pretend to be Catholic priests.
That's right. No.
I'm just making crap up at this point.
Vampire might. I don't know. I don't think they can do that, man.
That whole church thing, crucifix.
Yeah, that's true. That'd be a terrible place
communion.
for vampire. That would be a very short-lived vampire, really.
Yeah, it's like, I'm in the church.
I'm a vampire. Oh my gosh, I am the worst place for vampires. And he turns into a puff of smoke or something.
1, 2,
3 crucifixes, and that's it. He's gone.
That's
He's
it.
Wisp of smoke. But that's true. We don't hear a lot about Benedict the 16th. Isn't that what his official title is?
I don't know. Is that it?
I think it is Benedict the 16th.
That's sorry that I don't know. I didn't know him as Ratzinger. That's really bad. Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I'm surprised you're not listening to the. Maybe that's where our crowd is, because I was wanting to, because apparently
the debates.
The debates are only being like webcast, simulcast, and apparently all the Republican, the big boys, McCain and Romney and Giuliani had declined, as well as Fred Thompson declined to be there. But Ron Paul, was there, and your namesake. And
yeah, no kidding. That drives me crazy. I'm in the election. They got Ron Paul and they got Hunter, so they got me covered.
I know, right? Duncan Hunter and Ron Paul.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Somebody putting out the shout saying, Ron Paul Hunter's got to be in the election, and then they come up with these guys instead, like pushed at birth type stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I figured a lot of our people were probably watching that, and I know I would have been had we not been on the air. I didn't realize it was going to be on an internet only kind of deal.
I think it's kind of cool though.
Yeah, it's definitely
I shouted
cool.
out for Giuliani last time. I still think he's the best bet for the Republicans. I'm still saying the Democrats is kind of up in the airish, man. They still are putting out some strategies. Can you believe Hillary Clinton put out another healthcare-based platform, though? And I'm not sure, unless they did a whole lot of work on that, if that was such a good idea. What do you guys think?
I'm not familiar with it, so.
Yeah, they just had it today. She has it was on. I was just watching CNN. That's all I did. But they were talking about that on the news. I don't know. I'm at least trying to learn about politics this season and have something intelligent to say about it.
Oh yeah, I just haven't kept up to date. I've been slammed all day, and then I got here, and it was time to go on, and.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
The last time she proposed universal health care, she just fell flat on her face.
And it probably will again.
Probably will happen again. You're probably right.
Chart on TV, it showed the precipitous fall of where the Democrats' campaign had fallen away and the Republicans had taken over. It was almost exactly where she had started the health care thing.
Well, good.
Smart
Tell her
move.
to keep up the good work.
And then there's John Edwards. I know you said something about him, but I mean, come on, the guy comes up with a speech every 4 years. Last time it was 2 Americas, now he's got another speech. My God. I went and saw those guys at NC State when they started running, and I mean, I like the speech and everything, but it's like being at an Amway convention when he only gives, a speech every 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Played into being a president,
I like Fred Thompson. I've seen his little internet.
He looks
thing.
too presidential.
No.
Warren G. Harding looked presidential too, Scott.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
He's not showing up to your value debate either.
He's not what?
He's not showing up to your value debate either.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you just read it. You just talked about how he wasn't going to be there.
No, you mean the one tonight?
Yeah.
No, I know that. I'm wondering when he's
Fox News too.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know. I don't know if that strategy is going to work.
No, it's definitely not. He's only got as much money as Ron Paul does.
Well,
yeah, he's not going anywhere.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I've got faith in him. He's an actor, man. Washington likes actors, man.
And Americans like people who drive red pickup trucks.
That's true.
So he's got the best of both worlds, Scott.
See, there we go.
I'm Fred. I drive a red.
Vote for me, Doty.
So, Jay, what's going on with that show? The other show you guys were talking about doing, the political one?
That's in Chuck's. That's Chuck's ball game there.
That's Chuck's ball game.
It's happened pretty soon here, I think, man.
Yeah, we've got ThirdRailRadio.com. Is that 3RD or is that
Third? It's
THIRD.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
ThirdRailRadio.com is a website. It's up there, and we're just we're messing with it right now.
The ballpark is being
it's
laid
in a little
out.
disarray actually right now. I need to go back and tweak some things. But
Yeah, we've got a MySpace too already for the thing.
Oh yeah, and a blog.
And a blog, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. He's kicking it up a notch. But well, Ron, thanks for calling in tonight, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, enjoy the night.
Look, I really thought it was an amazing show. Pamela Kinney is a very talented person. I really liked a lot of the things she had to say, and and that she works with children. It's really incredible to hear some of her stories.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I guess
very
maybe
nice lady.
I'm sorry.
Put it up there.
All right. Well, thanks so much for calling, Ron. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks. You too.
See you, Ron.
All right. Well, this has been such a strange night.
It has
Starting
been.
out with the rock talk thing,
Yeah, well, just
going into the ghost thing, and then having one call
about politics.
And politics, yeah.
Weird.
It's just
very weird.
It's a strange night.
It's weird. It's making my brains feel weird in my brain.
Your brains, plural.
Butterflies burning. I'm also insane in the brain, dude. But that's my hip hop persona.
That'll be the guy we're getting next week. No, I'm kidding.
Hip hop persona, is that it? A hip hop ghost hunter?
That's right.
That'd be kind of interesting. That's just such a weird combination. We should probably look for somebody like that. I'm serious. I'm serious. Come on.
He raps and scares the ghosts away.
He raps and investigates ghosts. Come on now.
Do the beatbox.
What a
exactly. And the ghosts are just going, ah!
I think that's such a weird combination. I mean, you know.
I think the vote in the studio is no.
I think the vote should be yes. His name should be Ghost Dog.
Ghost Dog.
You know, like that movie.
DAWG.
Like that movie with the samurai had that guy, the real famous actor who's been in a lot of crap.
I don't know. It just made me think of Ghost Dad though with Bill Cosby.
Oh, what a crappy film!
No, but Ghost Dog is like a samurai warrior or something. But he grows up in the ghetto. It's got
it's like
Forrest Whitaker. That's the guy who's in it.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a really pretty solid movie. It's action and stuff, but.
It's like what happened when Bill Cosby tried to make a movie. I mean, he's flubbed it on a few occasions.
Leonard Part 6.
That's where I was going.
Six,
that's where I was going.
Wasn't it like the worst movie of the
I've never seen it.
It was pretty bad. I think Felicia Rashad even showed up in it too.
Well, they actually have it on DVD now. You know, they decided to put that on DVD.
Ghost Dad.
No. Well, I don't know about Ghost Dad. Leonard Part 6.
That's a cult
it is on
classic,
DVD.
man.
Well,
is it really?
If it's that bad, it's got to be.
Yeah.
You know what? But Plan 9 from Outer Space is also a horrible movie, and it's
I own it too, actually. I also own Bride of the Atom too.
Oh my gosh! I've got like The Legend of Dracula and the Seven Golden Vampires.
The Seven Golden Vampires. That's such a movie.
Yeah, I've got the Satanic Rites of Dracula. I've got
just all those old
all these
films.
Really crazy Hammer films. That's good stuff. Though.
They spit one out like every year. It seemed like
I'd probably spit 2 or 3 out a year.
Like some other industries that we know of, but.
Oh yeah, it's a wonderful thing though to be able to get some of those old classics on DVD now.
I mean, especially when you're a kid and you watch them and you're like, oh, it's so scary, you know, and you watch them now and you relive those nice, happy, sentimental fear moments of yesteryear.
I hear you. Well, guys, I'm Jay Scott. You're only JDDJ on the Omnisound Radio 1 network.
I'm Trent Lackey. I'm wearing double pants, and we're coming to you from Curtisville, North Carolina, a small town where we talk about big things.
It's just your underwear on the outside, man.
Underwear on the outside.
It's 2 pairs of pants, dude, and underwear.
Oh, me.
Double pants.
I don't know who's on next week, but y'all find out when you tune in.
Right, Alaska.
Okay.
Haunted St. Louis.
All right. And Mr. Chuck Browder.
We out!